with a little basketball. And Mac and I count it our pleasure to carry you through this journey. We are ready to tip. Queens freshly minted into Division I. It became official in July, and now they tangle with UVA. First possession to the Hoos.
Both teams trying to bounce back from a loss.
Virginia, that first setback coming to close out the Greenbrier this past weekend at the hands of Butler. DeRitter from downtown, right away, picking up where he left off in that turn.
There's no question, this guy is one of the best in the country.
You mentioned, Ashby, here's the surrounding cast for Queens, the starting five for the Royals. Of course, you highlight Watford there too. Player of the year out of the Palmetto State is a big part of what they do. It's Parker taking the first look, and he draws contact underneath.
Yeah, Queens wants to get up and down the floor also. They want a big number of possessions. They'd like to get between 70 and 80 offensive possessions, and their offense is very unique, all based on reads. Whatever the defense does, you do something different.
Well, and what did Coach Grant Leonard tell us? The one thing we have to make sure of is Virginia doesn't have 48 to 50% second chances. We want to make sure we make it one and done on some of those trips down the floor. One was enough that time around. First point for Queens coming from the charity stripe and belongs to Parker.
And the Georgia Southern transfer, long arm.
You got to look at Grant Leonard there. You notice very festive head coach of the Queens Royals.
Yeah, there's some background to that turkey sweater. We'll get into that later on.
Turkey sweater will give way to the Christmas sweaters soon enough, but he'll be easy to spot inside JPJ this afternoon.
You'll see Queens play good defense, but really trying to get in those gaps and stop dribble penetration.
Good movement for the Hoos. Thomas will try it from where DeRitter was successful. This one's off the mark. Battling to put it back. There were those second and third chances, but Queens still comes away with the basketball.
You'll see a lot of open middle for Queens. Nobody in the lane, allowing back cuts and drives. Virginia does something very similar.
Cleared away to the Hoos. Identical starting five for UVA, Coach.
Yeah, same ones. Hall and Thomas at the guards. Lewis at that small forward, and DeRitter. And, of course, the man in the middle, Grunloh.
And plenty of size in the interior for this Virginia squad. A lot of work being done from the perimeter, though, and here's more of it. How about Virginia? First couple of buckets coming from three-point land. Lewis this time around.
Yeah, Ryan Odom has almost an embarrassment of riches when it comes to people who can score the basketball.
Well, this team that is taking a lot more threes, the three-point attempts up from the pace and style a season ago. Who would have dreamed we would be talking about a Virginia basketball team with 80+ per contest? Both these teams come in averaging 80+, so you can expect it to be up and down the floor at times today.
Yeah, the players have adjusted quickly. I'm not sure about the fans yet.
Well, they got used to watching a certain brand and served them well, but I'll be pleased with what they've seen from this team through the first 6 contests.
Yeah, and we joke, but it really is an adjustment to what constitutes good basketball, and you can play good basketball a lot of different ways.
There's the first-year head coach of the Cavaliers. You know, he at one time in the Division II ranks was in the conference from whence Queens came. So there's familiarity between these two head coaches as well.
Sure. Lenore Ryan and Queens and I think it was SIAC. Coach Leonard was an assistant at that point in time. He's been with the Queens program quite a while.
And Ryan Odom, who's been a winner at every stop along the way. You know the basketball pedigree. His father, one of the best to do it in the ACC all time. From the corner, another three. It's Sam Lewis again. What a start for Virginia from beyond the arc.
Yeah, Queens went to the 1-3-1 zone. One place that's really vulnerable is in the corners, and Lewis made them pay again.
Well, you know the task when you enter a building like this in these early season non-conference contests. For a team like Queens, it's the need to hang around. Possessions like this will help. Nice put back from Mann. And he's an emerging player, Coach.
Yeah, the transfer from McNeese State. And of course, his brother plays right in town for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, the Queen City connection is there. Let's look back at the Virginia possession a moment ago, the second of the Lewis threes.
Yeah, good ball movement out of a trap, quick ball reversal, inside out, all the things you want in a wide open three-point shot right there in one possession.
Yeah, and the sharing of the basketball, something you've talked a lot about. You see Grunloh do a very nice job there on the kick out.
This is a very unselfish team, as all of Ryan Odom's teams have been.
Boy, nice stop and pop just over the top for Malik Thomas, who gets in the scorebook.
Queens wants to go fast, but Virginia's defense has been very solid in the half court. Gave up that offensive rebound that last time, though.
A lot of control here, and it's gathered up by Lewis,
who's always looking to push.
Now ran into too many of those Queens defenders there. All good. DeRitter right where he needed to be. Solid turnaround.
You know, sometimes you can run out of the double team, that's fine, but you cannot leave the best player on the floor unguarded.
Now, DeRitter, the thing you notice about him across the first handful of games, a guy who can score from anywhere, Coach.
He really can. So talented, strong, mature, and all that unselfish, despite the fact that he's averaging 17.5 points a game.
Such a huge part of what Virginia's been able to do in this opening sprint of the new campaign. Ashby, player of the year, tried to dump it off. Coach told you coming in, he's the A-Sun selection for the preseason player of the year. This is the other thing Virginia has done very well. Yet another block. Grunloh effective, showing you on both ends of the floor how good he can be.
Yeah.
That's back of the board. Quick start for the Hoos, much of it from beyond. Intentionally held back. 25.
Yeah, normally that's a 4-year probation period. They waived the last year for them, so they're eligible this year, but were able to play in postseason last year in the CBI. And they were a really traditionally good Division II program, and they have just taken that and built on it, and Coach Leonard is a big, big part of why they're where they're at today, being picked to win the A-Sun in their very first year of eligibility.
Spent some time in the South Atlantic Conference and in Conference Carolinas during their time in the Division II ranks, but you said it, team coming in as the favorite in their first fully available postseason-wise campaign. All that experience in the A-Sun tournament, making it the last couple of years, and certainly the postseason experience, as you said, Coach, tremendously valuable. Thomas slows it up. Why not? Rims out. Battle for it, and it'll be the Royals.
Queens has done a nice job of getting back against that fast break.
Somewhat out of control there, but Jabril maintained possession. Well, a timeout on the floor will take it as well. Virginia still out front in the first half.
Talking about from the fans' perspective.
Now, we've established that while we weren't there in 1906, the first ever game played, a different basketball game back then.
Yeah, I was young back then.
30 points total scored by Virginia in a win over the Charlottesville YMCA. So certainly the game has changed, and the pace Virginia's playing has changed. It's to the liking of fans so far in a 5-1 start. Takeaway by Queens. What have you been impressed with by the Royals so far?
Well, they get back. They're battling on the boards. But also, that was the very first turnover for Virginia.
Coming with just over 7.5 remaining. And Cavaliers answer with a basket to extend the lead a bit here.
Grunloh had the body language going on that time. He was trying to will that thing in like a golfer correcting a slice.
Whatever it takes. Closing in on 7 minutes. And the lead just crawling back to double digits here. There's Watford, one of the talented freshmen on this roster, and he's going to get a chance for an and one.
Yeah, player of the year, high school player of the year from Lancaster, South Carolina.
He was on a state championship team that lost just one game all season. You see his skills here.
Yeah, the quickness. DeRitter's a good defender on the perimeter, but he wasn't quick enough to stay in front of Watford that time.
Watford had 14 the last time out on Sunday in that game against Furman in his home state. And he scored 13 of those 14 in the second half. So heated up down the stretch that go round.
Yeah, kind of about a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and big, long 6'5" point guard.
Well, when you get immediate playing time in that true freshman campaign, he'll grab some attention around the A-Sun and beyond. Now they are not letting Virginia run off and hide just yet, Coach.
No, battling on defense. They're athletic. They've got size. And they have a winning tradition in this program, like we've mentioned.
Berman, a foul collected out top.
Mallory back in.
As Mallory comes back into the contest, you're right. A little bit of a breather coming for Talon Hall. Boy, Mallory. He doesn't have to find a gear when he hits the floor. He's already in it, right?
Yeah, he's wide open all the time. And that time he was wide open for a three.
Worked out. Immediate impact, working back into rhythm. And now Virginia, they've matched that total from that first ever contest back in 1906. 30 on the board for the Hoos, and they're up 11. They're trying to find some type of window, and it was denied by DeRitter. Queens attempted to go through all the big guys inside, and it rolls right off the rim. Mallory somehow gathers that up.
Haven't heard much from Thomas today. Second leading scorer for the Cavs.
DeRitter using his length, but he found the front of the iron. There's Lewis. He had a couple of big threes in the early going. Speaking of Thomas, ball in his hands. 5 to shoot as he windmills through there and draws contact.
Yeah. Again, baseline drive, kicking it back out, spot up, and DeRitter with the assist. Usually it's the other way around.
And that was Mallory with the bucket, seconds after he came back in to the contest a moment ago. Thomas to the line. You see his point total leading the way. Still looking for some here. Reminder, the third annual ACC-SEC Men's Basketball Challenge happening next week. Tuesday's doubleheader, Oklahoma-Wake Forest. That's at 7. Then Georgia-Florida State. And Wednesday, BC hosts LSU, followed by Mississippi State, Georgia Tech. Both those games on the ACC network. You can also stream them on the ESPN app.
I think there's going to be some good matchups. Of course, last year the SEC dominated the challenge, 14-2. I can almost guarantee you that's not going to be anywhere close to what it was a year ago.
Well, you think about what the SEC became at tournament time last year. And of course, Florida in the end claiming the title for the Southeastern Conference. ACC looking to make some waves. Perhaps a statement next week. Going to be a lot of fun when those teams tangle. Now the three was going down at will early, been a little tougher of late.
Tell you what, Virginia threw the ball ahead to Lewis, and that was some great defense by Chris Ashby. We talked about his shooting ability, but full court with a guy coming at you full speed, he was able to seal him off and stay in front of him and make Virginia take a longer shot later in the possession.
20 to work with as they inbound. Cavaliers still 42% from beyond the arc. We'll try and raise that. They will. Grunloh taking care of that piece of business.
What a weapon. take the other team's center away from the basket. They generally are not good defenders out there. And Grunloh with a couple of threes here in the first half.
45% from beyond the arc for Virginia in real time. And how about holding Queens to 30 in that department right now? 30% from beyond the arc. One of the differences in this game is Virginia tries to pull away. Plenty of energy down the right side, and there's Thomas.
He can shoot, but he can score more than shoot. He knows how to get it in the basket.
Virginia out front.
4 for 11, but 9 for 20. You wonder why they take twice as many threes as twos tonight.
Well, you factor in the one free throw there to get to Virginia's total at this point.
Largest lead of the game at 17.
Well, as a result of a 9-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes. Virginia having built this advantage after Queens had kept it inside single digits a good portion of this first half.
Yeah, and they've done a nice job with that on the defensive end. They blocked some shots, gave one shot up only, and none of those second shots that Queens were getting early in the game. Throw in a couple turnovers, and you've got a 17-point lead.
4 and change remaining in the opening half. And that rolled right off the leg of Jabril. Now they're going to say actually the whistle and a foul there. So it looked like he lost it initially, but they are going to whistle Thomas for the foul.
Yeah. And speaking of turnovers, Queens has done a pretty good job. They only have 6, and Virginia only has the 1 still. 16 minutes into the first half.
Well, and speaking of 1, that is foul number 1 on Thomas, and nobody for Virginia has gathered more than 1 at this point. Good news for the Hoops. They're trying to make something happen.
Yeah, Mallory with really good defense forced Ashby to take a bad shot. Jabril with his first miss from long range.
Well, size wins out on the rebound, and then there's too much on the backside of that as Parker's whistled for 1. So nobody for Virginia with more than 1 whistle against them so far. Parker not in that category. He picks up his second for Queens. Lewis going to get a breather here.
Virginia with a little bigger lineup now. DeRitter and Grunloh, and now Tillis comes in at the 3 at 6'7".
How do you like this combination?
I like it a lot. A lot of matchup issues right here.
Plenty of window for Tillis. Why not? He'll join the three-point party.
See why I like that lineup?
Always like it a little better when it ends up on a trip like that. Virginia runs it out to 39-19, now up by 20.
It's a nice little screener right there. Tillis with the wide open look at the top.
Taken right away from Berman. Where he slammed on the brakes and they worked it all the way around the top of the key, and eventually it's DeRitter taking it inside and drawing contact.
Yeah, and that's a great example of the diversity of DeRitter's skills. Yeah, they make the extra pass, he's wide open, shot fake, and get it all the way to the rim, drawing the contact. You see where he's had a little bit of contact, a little bit of Greenbrier damage there, you see on his right eye.
Well, comes with the territory. He leads the way in this one. 10 points, looking for 11, but it'll have to be on the shot fourth standing when you talk about what the potential playoff scenarios hold.
So much to still be decided, and some of that will be decided right here. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah,
sure.
We'll get there. It's a big weekend for the Commonwealth Clash. Speaking of bigs, how about the work in the interior? It's Grunloh again, who waits and puts it back.
Yeah, 8 points now, a couple threes, now a stick back. He's blocked a couple on the other end.
Despite the trip to the charity stripe a moment ago, DeRitter with 10, Grunloh with 8. That duo has been impressive. 18 of Virginia's 41.
Yeah, this is a really good basketball team. Still trying to find their way. Still learning a lot about themselves, what combinations work. And I think the Greenbrier event, I think, gave them a lot of perspective. Got a win and a loss. They'd rather had 2 wins, but I think they learned a lot over there. in Lewisburg.
No, the way they battled back in the Northwestern contest, the exact result they want. Didn't quite end up that way with Butler, ended up in some foul trouble and other things, but they were battle tested, and what the staff, a little more time to work with than he thought maybe, but the bounce back so far, so good for UVA. Coaching staff telling us that this week you could see right away in Tuesday practice that there was a fire in this team. They'll try to carry that over into the second half.
Yeah, they love the competitiveness they came out with on Tuesday after a day off on Monday.
Thomas, he tried to get it started here in the second half, but it rims out.
Nice execution. Got a wide open shot at the top.
Thomas with 5. He is 2 of 6 to this point in the contest.
And his size has really bothered Queen down low.
Schwieger, how about that? Schwieger from beyond the arc. Now here's a kid with some ACC connections. He's got a brother who is playing at Wake Forest. They were at Valpo together a year ago. He now at Queens in the state of North Carolina. His brother at Wake in the ACC.
Yeah, not a big factor in that first half, but you describe him as a stretch 4. That's what he does, to step out and shoot that 3.
And the first basket for Carson Schwieger.
And who else for the answer right there? Testa Ritter says, okay, take away the 3, I'll get it to the rim and play through contact. Love this guy's game.
Not his first points of the contest. He's the guy, of course, who led the way in that first half for UVA. DeRitter already sitting at 14 as he goes to the line. Of course, think about it. DeRitter getting it started from downtown, and now doing good work from the interior here, showing you his tremendous versatility. 22 and a freshman, right?
Yeah, and the free throw line has been the one thing that has befuddled him so far, shooting about in the mid-60s, but boy, it's really picking at him to find fault with that, with the way he's done everything else.
Yeah, you're right. 2 of 5 from there today, but so much of the rest of his game true. Here's a look at the freshman. Jordan Watford puts that back. The South Carolina Player of the Year who took his talents across the state line to Queens.
Malik Thomas has not really gotten going. Only 2 for 6 from the field.
You look back at those 2 trips down the floor, they're 2 very different freshmen in college basketball, right? Both giving you a window into what they bring to the table.
Yeah, DeRitter with a ton and years of international experience. And then Watford coming straight out of Lancaster, South Carolina.
Well, just a little bit of touch needed there by Grunloh to finish it. The 2 bigs get it done for UVA.
Yeah, that they combined for 20 points and 8 rebounds in that first half.
Everybody tangled up just below that Cavaliers logo. Watford down the bottom of the Sabres.
Yeah, Hall does so many little things. Some show up in the stat sheet like this assist, but some don't. He just has I think Coach Aldridge described it as a calming effect on this team.
Go back to Virginia, double-digit assists in the first half, and building on that already here.
Oh yeah. And that's who Ryan Odom is, and who his teams always will be. His former team with a big win today, with a victory over the in-state rival Virginia Tech Hokies, a solid win, led from start to finish. The VCU Rams did.
That team, he led to some championship glory, something that he's experienced at most of the stops along the way. You know, and we should mention, as Mallory, of course, comes back in here, and that always grabs your attention. You know, Charlotte, not a bad location for Ryan Odom, right? The connection there, it was in Charlotte that he got that 16/1 that Virginia fans may not want to think too much about initially.
You know, we've avoided bringing that up.
But I'm going to put a positive spin on it for you. There's a positive spin on it. You know, Virginia used the motivation from that moment to win the national championship and enjoy it for a couple of seasons the very next year.
And they're still enjoying it here in Charlottesville, as they should.
As they should. That served as a catalyst for what was Virginia's high water mark in the history of the program. And Ryan Odom now wearing the right colors, whose fans would tell you, when it comes to what he's done with Virginia in the first 6 games of his tenure. Going on 7 here and leading at 50-34 in early second half action. Down and underneath. Of course, bring that up because that happened, in the Queen City. So much ACC basketball connections to Queens, and a lot of folks may have been wondering, well, where did the Royals come from? Right out of Charlotte to Charlottesville.
A good
on this
basketball
Black Friday.
town. You've got Queens, you've got Davidson, you've got Charlotte, the 49ers, you've got the Hornets, and of course many NCAA games there.
Now, much to enjoy, including that one we referenced, which will always stand as a positive ultimate outcome for UVA in the end. How about this feed? And DeRitter gathers it up beautifully to provide the touch at the end.
Yeah, another nice assist. Berman's a guy that has not gotten going for Queens. Solid player, returnee.
Well, there he is. He's a guy, Tel Aviv. Talk about international experience. He's been on all the U teams, the Israeli U teams over the way. Another guy with plenty of international experience he brings to the table. Back up the floor as Virginia answered quickly. And in Berman's hands again, he'll try it from distance.
Yeah, Berman averages 14 and 4. Kind of plays like a big point forward.
Just enough touch there. Grunloh swats it away. Berman trying to find a shooting window, and how about this? Rainbows one home at the horn.
All we had to do was mention him to get him going, huh?
Berman suddenly heating up, making his presence known inside JPJ. He's the leading scorer, right around 15 per game coming in. Experienced young sophomore. Mentioned he was on those Israeli teams under 14, 16, 18, and 20, his experience. Mallory lost the handle, but DeRitter was right there. Now, whistle and a foul. Here's that most recent three-point basket for Queens.
Kick out and got under good pressure. Shot clock going down. Berman. Bang.
Something special from a guy that was limited to 6 points, no rebounds, although he did have 3 assists his last time out. Trying to become a factor here in the second half. Seat and a breather for Nasir Mann. How about this from the corner?
Oh, good execution on the baseline out of bounds. Shot it in rhythm to Jakari White.
Well, 5 of the last 5 for Virginia as they run their total to 57. Making the trips down the floor count are the Who's right now.
Ashby still can't get it going.
Tillis pulling down an impressive board. Just enough contact as Lewis tried to put it on the floor. Back to Charlottesville after the break. Virginia 57-39.
26 points, 8 rebounds, 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. They've done a little bit of everything. You think they have a chance to be all freshman ACC?
Well, and how good as that international connection, that pipeline been. This is the talent around the Atlantic Coast Conference in that vein.
Yeah, so many good freshmen, but it's hard to picture many playing better than these two. And of course, freshman takes on a whole different meaning when you add the international experience into it.
And DeRitter seems to be cruising toward making that 5 with 20 plus, the way things have gone for him so far. He's off the floor right now. Grunloh's still very much there, and it's Mallory who drives the baseline. Well, back out, but he'll take it. Mallory seemed to have one thing in mind.
Yeah, what great recognition, though. I've got a big guy on me. What should I do? Take it to the rim.
Big guy takes it back. Mallory will try 3, scores from within. Just as good from without.
5 points in 6 seconds. Is that good, partner?
Mallory, what did we say? Spark, lift, whatever terminology you want to use that he provides for Virginia. Take that snapshot of it. What a sequence for Mallory. And they found him a long way away from here, right?
Had to go a long way.
Just about a mile. Here's Mann. White the rebound.
Yeah, Mallory with the block out. White was the beneficiary of the rebound.
You know, Jakari White is the other guy alongside Mallory, whose praises we're singing in terms of bench scoring, that really finds himself up there on the doorstep of double digits in that department. Boy, relentless effort from Jibril.
Yeah, he's so good. I tell you what, it would be hard to keep him out of that lineup for Coach Leonard going very far.
Was the leading scorer the last time out against Furman, and he has 8 here in Charlottesville. Beautiful stroke from Sam Lewis. Had a couple of those in the first half that come to mind, but boy, that was a thing of beauty.
Oh yeah, the Toledo transfer is a really fine score.
A rare turnover there, and substitutions coming. The Ritters coming in, among others. Here's that steal and the 3 from Mallory right after the made bucket a moment ago. Take us to break here, Coach. Chance Mallory, one of 4 alums from St. Anne's Belfield inside John Paul Jones Arena this afternoon. We mentioned what a distance.
And end up with the pumpkin pie and Chase Mallory.
Well, looking like it's trending more and more as they close in on that 80-point threshold again. Like another one that's going to go the right way for the Hoos. A moment, however, for Nasir Mann, reminding everybody he's in the building with Queens. Mann with the slam.
Got going late in the first half, and we hadn't heard much from him, but we heard that loud in career.
Remember, he's part of that Mann family, making its mark on Charlotte, North Carolina. He and Queens closing in on 50, but the threshold for Virginia was 80. That's what the staff told us, right? You look at that 80-point threshold, you begin to think if they can get there, things are going to go well. That's been the case through the first 6. Next bucket will put Virginia on top of that 80-point threshold.
Just so many offensive skills out there.
Go back and take a look just a moment ago at the job Mann did to finish this.
Yeah, Lewis late on the chase, and Mann with the emphatic finish. Really impressive play by Nasir.
And Mann kind of quietly now, he's placed himself in the mid-teens. 14 points for Mann, including
right
that
on his
jam a
average.
moment ago.
Right on his scoring average, 13.9. He's number 4 in the ASUN in free throw percentage, number 2 in the ASUN in free throw attempts. And that's why he gets to the free throw line. He goes strong to the rim.
If you missed it when we talked about it earlier, that sweater, an answer to Coach Grant Leonard's wife's challenge that he wasn't festive enough. Now, that was related to Christmas. He started by wearing Christmas sweaters. It is now extended for the first time into the Thanksgiving holiday, and we give him credit. He wears it well.
Yeah, there's some other holidays, but they don't fall during basketball season, like Independence Day or whatever.
Well, this is a great sports weekend. You got the Commonwealth Clash coming up tomorrow, so many of those football rivalries being decided as we speak. Just a lot of fun. You broke down the full meal that Virginia provides from a Thanksgiving standpoint. It really is, as you talk about what Virginia's been able to do through these first 6+ games now, it really is the well-rounded nature of this team that has made it tremendously successful. You look at it as a team that's got an opportunity to make a deep look this year.
It's a feast and could be a buffet.
If everything comes together for this team. You know, they were telling us prior to the game, Coach, look at this. How about Berman? Berman has had his moments in this second half. There's another as he has a second 3.
Yeah, don't remember anything he did in the first half, but second half he's come to play, and he's a big contributor.
I thought the staff made a great point in talking with us prior to the game about this Virginia team, and it's true of a lot of teams around the country. You don't have, when you're putting together a new nucleus, that experience of what happened a year ago or some of the down times. That's being built as you speak for this Virginia squad. They'll only get stronger as it happens.
Yeah, exactly. These things are happening organically now, but they didn't have that coming in. And that's the challenge for all these new rosters with so many new players.
The Queens team with a number of players back here going to make their mark on the ASUN this year. There's a piece of the puzzle that you talked about a moment ago, Coach.
Becoming a go-to side dish.
Absolutely. What an addition. Nearly came away with a block there, maybe a piece. Saw that's at 7 on the ACC network and the ESPN app. Big week of college basketball here. Of course, yesterday, national champs went down to TCU. North Carolina fell. That Michigan State team having their say. Duke had their hands full with Arkansas last night. It has been an impressive college basketball week already, and the week to come with the ACC SEC Challenge is going to be even more special. And Thomas hard to the floor. But back up to his feet, everybody catch your breath. And just how enjoyable will those ACC, SEC games be? Look at this lineup.
Love it. Yeah, you want to see the best go head-to-head, and we're going to see a lot of good contests. Gosh, national championships against Duke rematch back there, and North Carolina, Kentucky, two of the literal blue bloods, Louisville and Arkansas. Saw a little bit of that last night. Cal's got a good group out there, and goodness gracious, how good is Louisville off to such a good start. Virginia and Texas will be good, and Will Wade against the youngster Stephen Pearl.
And all those games loaded up for you on the ESPN family of networks. Of course, Duke answering back last night in Chicago. That ended up being a major moment. You know, found an interesting note out of that game. Undefeated to Thanksgiving. I think each of the last 8 or 9 NCAA champions undefeated to Thanksgiving. That's something to keep an eye on as we go through the remainder of the college basketball season. Of course, Florida trying to defend their title, and the ACC looking to snatch it back from one of those you just saw on your screen. Berman fighting for it, and coming away out of the fray with the basketball is Lewis. Under 4.5 to play, Virginia having held Queens at arm's length in this second half. But this is a Queens team going to make its mark on the A-Sun, as they're the preseason favorites in that league, new to D1. A Virginia team, no doubt in a position to do so in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Here's a foul underneath. Berman was trying to get his hands on the basketball, and he'll depart. Jabriel coming back in his stead.
Yeah, even with the big lead here, just 4 minutes left in the game, everybody from Virginia touched the ball on that possession. Of course, Grunloh had to get it himself. They didn't throw it to him, but but all 5 of them touched the ball on that possession. That's impressive.
All's well that ends well for Grunloh. He'll knock down the free throw to begin it. We're talking ACC just a moment ago. What's impressed you so far as you look around the league, Coach?
Well, I think the league is much improved, you know, particularly on the men's side. NC State's gotten off to a good start, even though they had a couple of losses lately. Louisville looks really good. Obviously, Boozer and Caleb Wilson has Tobacco Road talking. Wake Forest missed out on a couple of big chances to win big games, but then came back and won one with Colvin off the bench, the leading scorer off the bench in the league.
Sure. Made
a game-winning shot, and I think the league is going to be good. Virginia Tech got off to a good start. They've hit a little bit of a lull now. Of course, they played the last 2 games without one of their better players, Toby Lawal. But again, I think the men's side has greatly improved, and I'm really interested in the SEC-ACC challenge.
Now, for a long time, the ACC considered best basketball league in the country, and there wasn't a lot of discussion. But with the headlines the SEC snatched away a year ago, that makes this ACC-SEC challenge all the more impressive. Well, speaking of impressive, the three-point shooting in this one for Virginia falls in that category. White has the latest, and the Hoos have posted 90.
Yeah, and all these things are cyclical. You know, fans act like, okay, the SEC is the very best, or the ACC is the very best. All these things go in cycles. Even as young as you are, you've seen cycles go through all the sports.
Here a moment ago, you were accusing me of being there for the 1906 contest. Now you go that way. Going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure, with what's ahead. Things going well for Virginia thus far on Thanksgiving weekend. Averaging in the mid-80s. They will eclipse 90 in this, the 7th game of the new college basketball season for Virginia. Parker to the line on the backside. Look at that 90-point total. Going to raise the overall average, Coach, for a team that's scoring it a lot differently, shall we say, than in recent years.
Yeah, a lot differently, a lot more, and just a totally different style of play. And you know, all these things, the pack line and the mover blocker under Tony Bennett, that was an acquired taste. And of course, when you win a national championship, everything tastes pretty good.
Yep.
Continuing the Thanksgiving theme.
There is one hanging in the rafters they will treasure for all time. As a result of that, it is certainly a different style now, and Virginia playing it well through the first 7. 6 in double figures today as well for UVA. That's always something you watch.
I think the fans are going to enjoy this team. I think they're going to enjoy this style of play, and this team's going to get better and better. We talked about they didn't have any points coming back from last year. All this is new, and like Coach Griff Aldridge said, we didn't have any experiences to draw upon where you could say, remember back when, and their remember back when is the 4th of November when they started this thing, and I think that's going to serve them well going forward. You're going to see improvement of this team. Great basketball is not being played. There have been some great games, there have been some great performances, but consistently great basketball is not being played. But as you get into January and February, you're going to see some teams separate themselves.
Virginia's certainly one of those teams capable of doing so, and you saw a snapshot of that coaching staff over there still looking for every small turn of the knob, every small angle to try to make sure this team improves to its highest capability. 2 and change remaining. Mentioned 6 in double figures, led by DeRitter with 21 in this one. And here's Mallory. He's one of those, looking for more, but it rims out.
Trying to block out Grunloh down low. Virginia's going to maintain possession on the baseline. No, they're going to go to the free throw line. Grunloh with 11 and 8 so far, going back to the free throw line.
Grunloh with 11, Mallory with 11. A lot of guys with 11. Also true for White and Tillis. And then, of course, the 15 for Lewis and the 21 I mentioned for DeRitter. Those the 6 for the Who's in double figures this afternoon. Grunloh good from the charity stripe.